Hello everyone, and welcome to this quick video regarding steering methodology or steering methods. This is an unscripted and unrehearsed video, so bear with me as I may at different stages stumble through the information I want to get through. So the whole idea of this video is just to have a chance to explain and demonstrate the two different, or the main two steering methods, which is hand over hand and pull-push steering. So you can learn how to do that correctly, and then also, you know, from learning how to do it correctly yourself, it can then be something that you end up teaching to your future students. And it is a part of the requirements for the driving units and the training units for your Cert 4 car driving instructor qualification. So just quickly, I am in a slightly compromised seating position to make this video as best possible. So bear with me if it's not 100% anatomically perfect, because like I said, we're after progress today, not perfection. Alrighty, so when it comes to steering methodology, just let's quickly address hands on the wheel. When it comes to best practice for positioning of hands, absolutely positively, once upon a time it was 10 and 2, was seen as the best methodology, with hands on the outside, not linked in on the inside of the steering wheel, but hands on the outside. This is still acceptable. If you wish to drive with a 10 to 2 hand position, that is fine by us. Over probably the last decade or so, it has become quite clear that 3 and 9 is now seen as best practice, again with with thumbs on the outside of the rim, despite the fact that the steering wheel, the many steering wheels, are made for little thumb locks, so to speak. We actually try to avoid that. The whole idea behind that is, and it comes a little bit from a motorsport background, in that with your hands on the inside, if you were to smash something hard like a gutter or whatever the case may be, which does occur and crashes, and the injuries are very real. People have spoken about when they've struck something really hard with their thumbs on the inside, as the wheel violently, flicks on impact, as the wheels are hitting something on the outside, that violent motion can break thumbs. Simple as that. So, and it's something that we have had contact with people that's occurred. So the whole idea is, by keeping your thumbs on the outside, you're protecting yourself to a point around broken thumbs. So whether you use 10 and 2 or 3 and 9, that's okay by us, as long as you're not down here, as long as you're not like this, as long as you're not like that. And the reality is, as a part of your course, any of your driving habits which had these different steering methodologies, so to speak, no more. You can't do them anymore. Those days are gone. Obviously, it's clear to see that with modern steering wheels, that the design of the wheels is very much lent towards you having your hands at 3 and 9, because that is representative of the button design. I had slightly older vehicles when buttons were first being put onto steering wheels, and absolutely there was button clusters up here at 2 o'clock and 10 o'clock, which reflected the fact that you could be driving, and you could use you could have your hands at that position and comfortably use the wheel. The reality is, at this position, it is much easier for us to use things like, on this vehicle, radar cruise control, and other items, lane keep assist, and whatever the case may be, and obviously here over the audio visual when our hands are at 3 and 9 compared to 10 or 2. But likewise for us, like I said, as long as you're either, we're fine. Let's next up then talk about or identify the two major best practice steering methods. That is hand over hand and push feed. When we look at both steering methodologies, to keep it really simple, regardless of the method, we divide the steering wheel in half. If we were to look at hand over hand steering to start off with, we pretty much divide the steering wheel in half. That we say everything from 3 and 9 upwards is where our hands are going to remain, and we won't really let our hands get below 3 and 9. In reality though, what we tend to find is that most people, or what we would say is probably an acceptable level of hand movement with hand over hand, is that people may get on, say for instance, on a left hand turn, down to about 8 o'clock before they start to move their hand back up to the top. And likewise with a right hand turn, they may get down to about 4 o'clock before they bring their hand back up to 12. But in a perfect world, it would be 12 to 9, 12 to 9, 12 to 9, 12 to 9 on a left hand bend, and on a right hand turn it would be 12 to 3, 12 to 3, 12 to 3, 12 to 3. But we'll go through that. I'll demonstrate that in a moment. So we divide the wheel for hand over hand steering horizontally, and the whole idea is our hands stay on the top half of the wheel. Additionally, I'll just mention that hand over hand steering is seen as a direct steering method, in that we get a whole lot closer to our corner and we make the inputs as for the steering as we sort of make the turn. Whereas the other methodology, push feed or pull push or push pull steering, it has three sort of different names but it means the same thing, is what we refer to as an indirect steering method. And in some ways it's why it's a little bit harder and more complex to learn, because the whole idea with pull push steering is that you have to sort of much more predict how much steering input you need, and then you wait for the vehicle to complete the turn. Whereas with push-pull, it tends to be much more direct. There's still always, with any steering methodology, you're still going to have a period of time where you wait for the vehicle to complete the turn, but with pull-push steering, it is much more dependent upon you making large inputs, or the largest inputs possible early on, and waiting for the car to complete the turn. So it's much more predictory, which obviously is a higher skill set, so to speak. Obviously, again, with pull-push steering, we divide the steering wheel in half, but this time we divide the steering wheel vertically, and as we make turns, so say for instance if I was going to turn left, our hands are going to come up and meet at 12, and then meet at 6, and meet at 12, and meet at 6. And the big thing around pull-push steering is that we are not shuffling. We're not doing little shuffles like this, which is very inefficient and very much makes us struggle to get around bends correctly. The whole idea is that we make large inputs and wait, and then undo our steering by making large movements with our hands working in unison, always matching the other hand on the opposite side of the wheel. I'll now give you a demonstration in a moving vehicle of both. We'll start off with the hand over hand method. So as we have a look here, I'll just wait. I've got a vehicle coming down towards me to park in this car park, so we'll let that vehicle do that, and then we'll get going with the example, so to speak. So as we come down here, he's going to park beside me. So here we go. We're going to now move off. So hand over hand is like 12 to 3, 12 to 3, 12 to 3, 12 to 3. And then you can see here I'm going 12 to 9, 12 to 9, 12 to 9, 12 to 9. And I'll wait for the vehicle to make the turn. And then I'm going back the other way, which is 12 to 3, 12 to 3, 12 to 3, 12 to 3. And again, we don't want to leave our hands in an awkward position or crossed over. Always when we get to a moment in time where we've made enough of a turn, we're going to bring our hands back to an even place on the wheel. But once again, if I look here, so we're going to go 12 to 3, 12 to 3, 12 to 3, and hold it. And then 12 to 3, 12 to 3, 12 to 3, 12 to 3. I said 12 to 3 instead of 12 to 9 on that left-hand turn. Likewise, again, if we look at the left-hand turn, 12 to 9, 12 to 9, 12 to 9, 12 to 9, and then letting my hands be, you can see here they're kind of coming back towards a 10 to 2 position. Can be a 3 and 9, it's not so bad, but again, same thing again, 12 to 3, 12 to 3, 12 to 3, 12 to 3, holding it, and 12 to 9, 12 to 9, 12 to 9, 12 to 9, and thereabouts. And it doesn't have to be 100% perfect, but it needs to be close enough to be representative of the best practice for this steering methodology. So again, you can see how I go across with this right-hand turn. I'm going from 12 to 3 to 12 to 9, and then I'm going across to 12 to 9 backwards, and always leaving my hands with a gap. You can see I'll let it slide back there a little bit. We're not, it's kind of interesting, obviously, when it comes to maybe straightening a wheel in this controlled environment, with obviously the experiences that we may have, or the experience that we have in this controlled environment within a car park. If you were training with us and you let the wheel slide back a little bit through your fingers, we're not going to be overly conscious about that, or think that's a necessarily terrible thing. Obviously, allowing a steering wheel to slide back through your fingers in some circles, and especially those who will push feed, advocates, they'll say that it's horrendous and terrible. Obviously for us, you can't do look mum no hands as you go to straighten up, but in some circles, if you can demonstrate really good control of the vehicle, that you know how to allow the vehicle to slide back through your hands with appropriate pressure, where the vehicle never goes off the correct turning arc or whatever the case may be, then we're probably going to find that acceptable. And that'll be something that you'll work with your clients. And of course, like I said, if you've got people trying to do a steering methodology, so to speak, like hand over hand, and then when it comes to straightening up, they're going like that, that's not good. That's obviously not acceptable. It's not going to be acceptable in a licensed environment. Whereas, if say for instance you have people, holding the wheel and then as it came time to straighten up, so to speak, if they allowed the steering to sort of slide through a little bit, it's not going to be the end of the world. Although I know for some people and those who are push feed advocates or push pull steering advocates, that is abhorrent. Sliding the wheel back tends to work a little bit better with hand over hand steering technique rather than push feed. I'll now demonstrate push feed for us. Again, the secret to push feed is as big as inputs as possible, and this is what you're going to be teaching your students. Again, as we hold turns, we kind of really want to avoid having our hands locked, especially down the bottom of the wheel waiting for the car to make a turn. It's always sort of best practice to maybe even up your hands if you can. Because again, it just helps with the steering up, the correcting up. You can hold it more at 12 o'clock for certain bends if you had to. So if you're, say for instance, making a right hand bend or a sharp U-turn, so to speak, and you're just holding here, so then you could make large turns of the wheel to get back to straighten up. Again, that's not so bad and that's fine. But the whole idea of push feed steering is that you are going to make the inputs to the turn, and then you are going to undo the straightening up of the wheel, the undo of the turn using inputs again. So once again, just a quick demonstration of that as we move forward, and you'll notice how I make large inputs as much as I can and then wait for the vehicle to complete the turn. So here we go. So again, like say for instance for a left-hand turn, whether I start by pushing up to 12 or I pull down to 6, it doesn't really matter. Again, I've found over the journey that even with people that that do it for a living because they have driving jobs where best practice is the absolute benchmark, I've noticed over the journey, whether they for some right hand turns, say for instance pull down with their right hand or they push with their left hand, it seems to be not something that it's very interchangeable. And I think personally I'm probably no different, but let's have a look here. So say for instance I'm going 6 to 12, 6 to 12, 6 to 12 and holding and waiting, and then I'm going 6 to 12, 6 to 12, 6 to 12, 6 to 12 and waiting. And you can see here I'm trying to keep my hands at sort of like a 3 and 9 or a 2 and 10 at the very least on this small car. Again, in a heavy vehicle, much more different situation. It is 100% push feed steering, and depending on the type of wheel that heavy vehicle is using, it might be really paramount that we come back up to around about the 3 and 9 position to allow us to straighten up. Because again, anytime we're controlling a vehicle, and especially if it's on a bend, on a road with different radius turns and that, we don't really want to be locked down, especially down here. That's very counterproductive and to best practice and safety. But as you can see here, I'm making the largest inputs I can, and this is how you would get your students to practice and learn how to steer using this methodology. So here I don't like this, so I'd sort of come back up and then allow myself to wind on the next turn. You can see again here the wheel is being split vertically, and the hands are always meeting at 12 and 6 or near enough 2, so to speak. And here you can just see how if I was, say for instance, turning at this corner just here, and I was using a pull push method, I'm looking at the bend, I'm making I'm predicting the amount of wheel I need to complete the turn to get around the corner, and then I'm straightening up accordingly, so to speak. So that's why it's a predictory, what we kind of call a indirect steering method, where we kind of have to predict the inputs and let the vehicle wait for the vehicle to get there. Whereas if I have another entry point, I don't have another entry point up here, but maybe I'll pick up the roundabout here. If you see me turn around this roundabout, I'm just going to check my mirrors and put my signal on, and I come up to give way to this roundabout and go around this roundabout using a hand over hand method, you'll see that I get to the roundabout and I'm making those inputs as I turn, much more direct whilst I'm in the heart of the turn. Where once again, if we were to look at, say for instance, the left hand turn up here into Cobham Street, again I'd be checking my center left mirror and put my left signal up and starting to brake gently, and then as I come down here I'm predicting my turn and holding it, waiting for the wheel, and then straightening up. Cool, hope that helps people. Bye.